we are going to talk about money. All right, we have 5 speakers in this session. They have big portfolio. I'm going to spend 10 minutes to talk about them. However, they say, no, Angela, we do not have enough time. 45 minutes is not enough. All right, so I think, okay, so let us have a brief introduction of them. Let them tell you about money and how we are going to proceed from here. All right. So first, we have Mr. Alan Lim. He is the principal advisor for Nexia. He is mentors and coaches and invested in many young entrepreneurs. He also gives himself his time to MBank as the president. And next, we have Azurul Ramali. He is an investment professional, having almost 20 years of experience across different asset classes. He is currently the head of investment of PNSB. We also have Kashminder Singh. He is the co-founder and chief strategy officer at Pitch In, a Malaysian leading equity crowdfunding platform. Next, we have Dato Sri Paul Chong. Paul is a venture partner of APP Group, a global investment bank serving mid-market clients, and the founder and managing partner of Knight Capital Partners, a regional private equity fund based out of Hong Kong and Malaysia. Last but not least, the famous familiar face, our president, Dr. Daniel. Dr. Daniel is a mentor and serial entrepreneur and investor in tech startup. He is the president of Malaysian Proptech Association, the one that we are familiar with, and the council member of Global Proptech Alliance. So I know everyone is waiting for this moment. I'm not going to talk more. I will pass the floor to Mr. Daniel. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Angela. Thank you for the great introduction. And thank you, gentlemen, for taking your time out of your busy schedule and being with us today. I've been in online since this morning wearing this headset, and I've been hearing awesome presentation from all our speakers. But everyone has been talking about challenges, pain points, ESG, SDG a lot, smart city. Now, for the next 45 minutes, let's talk money. Let's talk money, and let's talk serious money, because we have here the 4 stages of funding. We start with seed and pre-seed angel investor. We go into crowdfunding. We move up towards a series or B series with VCs. And finally, we start our walking the talk of IPO, either IPO or spec IPO. And here we have 4 champions with us today. Thank you again for being with us. And without any further ado, let's start entering into the money talk. Can you, one by one, we start from Alan, then Kashminder, then Ashirul, and then Dato Sri Paul. Can you share with our audience today a bit more about what your organizations are doing and which type of approach and which type of outcome have had the fundraising campaigns you have conducted, if any, for PropTech startups? If no PropTech startup, give us some other success story to motivate our public. Thank you. We start with Alan first.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Daniel, for inviting me here. I represent the Malaysia Business Angel Network, or in short, we call it MBank. And MBank is the association for the angel investors in Malaysia. Other than MBank, I also represent Nexia, which is a startup VC, and we have been investing into the startup ecosystem for the last 7 to 8 years. You asked the question about what have we done. In the case of MBank, we have done a lot for the PropTech industry. Not only just PropTech, but startup in general as well. But if we talk about specifically about the PropTech, we have hosted many PropTech startups at our Enter the Tiger's Lair monthly page, which is taking place on every last Friday of the month. We too have hosted PropTech startups in our Angels and Unicorn page. That is been done on the quarterly basis. So other than that, as you know, in the case of Nexia, the startup VC company, we does 2 to 3 accelerator programs, and through that we have hosted many startups in the accelerator programs that we have done. So yeah, my full support to the
fantastic. I've been attending a number of your Enter the Tiger Lane.
You did, yes.
Very exciting sessions.
Thank you.
Kashminder is with Pitchin, is one of the co-founder, if I'm not wrong, of Pitchin, and they have been crowdfunding. I know, for having heard about it from our members, several PropTech startups. How has been the process? Because normally crowdfunding comes in as a second step. Once the idea is formed and they are in a go-to-market, they come to you. So tell us a bit of good success stories. I know you have plenty of them.
Sure. Thanks, Dr. Daniel. I think just a quick introduction. I represent Pitchin, which is an equity crowdfunding platform. And yes, we have been helping companies, including PropTech companies. And over the last 5 years, I think equity crowdfunding has actually established itself quite significantly in Malaysia. We have plenty of companies from 2015 when we first started. A lot of people, I think, used to call us alternative investments, but I think now the word alternative can be actually removed, because at Pitchin alone, I think this month we have now crossed 261 or 262 companies that have raised money. We have also 161 or 162 companies, and also raised 271 million plus for these companies. So that's actually a very significant number, because what it means is that as far as SMEs are concerned, we have become quite a viable source of funding. Now, among these companies are also PropTech companies. We are happy and pleased to have funded quite a few companies. Off the top of my head, I can name Properly, which was one of the recent companies that raised money, as well as quite well-known company like Speed Home. They have also raised money on Pitchin, along with RentGuard and MHub. So all of these companies came and successfully raised money from Pitchin. And what that means is that, because you know how equity crowdfunding works, is that these people are able to actually raise money from the whole range of investors, all the way from retail investors till actually even to VCs and private equity companies. They can invest on the same platform. And what it means when they are able to fund themselves is that it means investors have looked at their pitch and believed in them and actually funded them. Right? So it means that there is support for PropTech companies. They are interested to fund PropTech companies, and as well as performance-wise, I'm sure you all know that companies like MHub and the rest are all doing well, right? So it is an exciting area for them to be in, and we continue to work with. We have, I think, one or a few more PropTech companies that are talking to us. We hope to host a lot more deals there. Thanks.
Fantastic. I love when I can hear support, positive support and success stories. And I fully agree with you. The names that you have been naming are all proof, living proof that crowdfunding works. And now we step up, because normally when we think about angel investor and crowdfunding, we talk about hundreds of thousands Malaysian ringgit to few million Malaysian ringgit. And now we step up at least to the 2-digit in Malaysian ringgit, in terms of 2-digit, in terms of million, 2 million, 5 million, 15 million, 20 million and above. Ashirul, open the door of PNSB to our members. I'm very happy that you made it today. Very happy to have PNSB as one of our panelists here today. PNSB has been recently launched as a Menteri Besar Selangor VC arm. Correct me if I'm wrong. And tell us a bit of the background and of the very positive mention that happened during the launching by your CEO of a positive and constructive cooperation with the Malaysian Proptech Association, that we are here waiting for you with open arms.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks. Good evening, everyone. My name is Ashfur. From the state of Selangor, it started off last year by the Menteri Besar when he announced during the budget last year that he wanted to create what was called back then Selangor Innovation Fund with an allocation of about 100 million. So cut a long story short, we managed to finally launch the fund around August or September this year, a few months back. And so now the strategy is to first invest about 30 million in the first phase for 30 million. So sorry, it's a bit small, I know. So 30 million to be spent in the next 36 months or so. And then hopefully by then, if we can prove that this works, then we can extend to the next 70. The reason being is Selangor as a state, I think any of the state initiative all this while has always been on the grant side or the loan side. So the idea is for the state to have a bit more active role in helping startups in particular in their growth journey. So we have a bit more participation and we are a bit more interested in the growth and the journey of a startup when we are in as a shareholder rather than just giving out loans, which typically is very difficult to monitor. So at our side, it's pretty new. We're not like Cash and at Pitch-in or M-Bank, Ellen. So at the moment, a bit on the operational side, the 30 million is our own. So we hope to dish out for this year and next year, about half of that. Happy to accept any pitch deck where anyone is interested to. But what's interesting is PNSB. I know probably none of you guys have heard of PNSB before. PNSB, Perangan Negeri Selangor Berhad, we are actually a property company. So this is a total departure of the business model of PNSB. Hence, one of the things that we do here at the VC arm is to try and assimilate the tech with the property industry. So MPA, Dr. Daniel, was one of the very first people that we contacted to try to get the ball rolling and get a close working relationship, because hopefully in the next 36 months we can help some of the PropTech out there. I think I'll stop there for the time being.
Fantastic. And you know, you have my number. You know that it takes only 45 minutes for me to be in Sharjah.
No problem.
And I have plenty of members that are willing to have a session with you. So let's keep the ball rolling from this point of view.
All right.
Now we come to the dream of all startups. Which startup starts without thinking, I want to go IPO? All of them, I want to become a unicorn. All of them. Without remembering one very important thing, that unicorns are mythological animals. No one has been seeing one. And even though it's that a fact that we didn't see them, we had 700 unicorns in the last 24 months, which is, wow, mind-blowing number. So that was Ripo. You are named as the scent spec in Malaysia. You have been taking care of listing, if I'm not wrong, 20 or 25% of the world spec IPO in the last 12 months. So I salute you. I know you personally. You are always extremely generous in your sharing. I've been attending one of your congress and missing one, unfortunately. Tell us a little bit more about this dream step and how to make it easy somehow.
Buon pomeriggio, Don Daniele. Pardon my bad Italian. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul. I represent a global boutique investment bank called ARC Group. Prior to this, I was a senior banker at Goldman Sachs in London, New York, and Hong Kong, and also at UBS in Hong Kong. And after 25 years in investment banking, I retired and became a fund manager, managing the Rothschild private equity fund. Now retired in Malaysia, but doing a lot of SPACs on both the New York and Nasdaq stock exchanges. SPACs is not a new thing. It's been around since 1993. In fact, the first few Malaysian SPACs were created in 2011. However, only one survived. One is still in coma. The rest all died. As Daniele mentioned, I must have completed more than 30 SPACs now in the last 18 months. ARC as a group has listed the first SPACs on Nasdaq from Mexico, Chile, Colombia, Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Taiwan, Japan, China, and Nigeria. So we are painting the US exchanges with global flags, and SPACs is in fact a shortcut to an IPO. I'm going to talk a little bit about going from zero to IPO later. It's worse than childbirth. It takes a long time, a lot of money, a lot of effort. But through SPACs, Malaysia has seen 3 unicorns. The first one was a spin-off from Genting called Cellularity for 1.75 billion. Second one is the world's largest SPAC transaction ever, Grab at 42 billion. And the third one is GrafJet out of Kota Tinggi, Johor, 1.49 billion US dollars. Happy to share my experience on SPACs and how you can access the US capital markets quicker, cheaper, and in a more surer way compared to a traditional IPO.
Very good and very true. By the way, I'm also, besides being a good friend of Datos Ripoll, I'm also one of his clients somehow. All right, and once we have been seeing what our guests are strong in, let's see one question that I have for all of you. We have the world filled up with edutech, health tech, tourism tech, food tech, fintech, prop tech, and contech, and the list can go on for another half an hour. How comes fintech has been able in the first few years, 2-3 years, to rise worldwide more than 300 million US dollar of funding compared to the PropTech ecosystem? PropTech ecosystem address what? Address challenges, address problem statement of the biggest asset in the world, property. People are spending, we all are spending more than 90% of our time within property. And still, PropTech doesn't have the appeal, the sexy appeal to attract more investors. I would like to tap a bit in your knowledge, in your brain, in your experience, to tell our public and our members what could be the secret ingredient that our PropTech startup didn't have to become appealing. We start maybe with you, Datos Ripoll. Are you willing to take up the first?
Sorry about this. I'm an old man trying to find my unmute button. Daniele, it's not that PropTech is less attractive. I think it's just to do with the fact that fintech and some of the technology have mass appeal. Blockchain and cryptocurrencies, when they came, the biggest evangelical message that they have is that we're going to disintermediate the big banks, right? We're going to disintermediate the central banks. For some reason, the new generation does not trust authority. They do not believe in concentration of power in huge organizations such as banks. Now, fintech seeks to do exactly that. I have co-founded the largest fintech company in Asia outside of China. And we have a very successful business in Malaysia as well. It's called Tranglo. And we have totally bypassed the banking system. We've totally sidestepped the SWIFT money transfer system. I mean, Russia was complaining that, since they started the war, they were kicked out of the SWIFT system. Who needs the SWIFT system, right? Fintech is able to basically reach out to the underbanked and the unbanked. So we are actually reaching out to the masses, and everybody get excited when you can buy something without cash. We can transfer money in, using 2 clicks of a button, and you can have savings and pensions and investments all on your phone. So it's that mass appeal. Now, PropTech historically has been technology in property sector or the real estate sector, where you help people buy, lease, manage properties better. But you could go more than that, right? I've got a very good friend in KL, Mr. C, who does fractionalization of property. Now that is innovation. You can have ways of transacting in property, maybe using tokens, and new ways of securitizing interest in property. So the world is your oyster. There's no end to this innovation. And I want to see the day when PropTech actually becomes more of a tool that has greater mass appeal through B2C or even C2C, so that investors in the US can get more excited.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you, because it is also a matter of perception. I picked this from what you were saying. Till now, the public, till last year, the last 2 years, the public was looking at PropTech as buy, sell, rent, maybe lease. But PropTech is much, much more than that. It's that data, big data collection, analytics, AI, security, management of residential and commercial property, planning, construction, a lot of solutions. Our members are offering solutions, fantastic solutions for the construction industry. So it's an unveiled world still. And this is why I've been always telling my committee and members in MPA, guys and girls, let's be as loud as possible and shout as much as we can to be heard. Cash, do you agree with those three? Anything that you want to add to get the PropTech rising the appeal to the investor, to be more sexy?
Sorry, I think I also echo what Dato Sri has just said. I think it's beyond and just the buying and selling and renting of properties. So that's one. Just also to share, even the way forward for areas like fintech, for example, the securitization and all that, is also fintech, right? But they also can fall into the space of properties. For example, Pitch-in has received approval to actually launch an IEO platform, which is actually to do with the tokenizations of digital assets as approved by the Securities Commission. So next year, there will be projects that are not just crowdfunding, but also through IEO and digital tokens. And of that, we do expect and already are talking to parties where there will be this securitization of assets as well as fractionalization and all that. So there are various ways to leverage. But if I was speaking directly to PropTech companies, my comment would be, I think we need to get your more news of your achievements also out, right? Companies that do well are also those that are able to present themselves out into the market. So there is one area that I think maybe PropTech companies can do a bit more, because some of the solutions that you are building are in the back end, right? And they're working and they are seen by people who are at in the back end, maybe B2B kind of solutions, and they find them good and interesting. But consumers sometimes don't know what solutions are being used to power up their transactions and all that. So if you get a bit more out into the market, that would help to build, I think, more interest from investors. So that would be one area that I would really suggest PropTech companies to look at.
Be louder. Be louder.
Yes,
Shout.
yes. Be louder.
Let's
But,
tell
yeah,
more success stories.
Can I just add one more quick point? I think being
Absolutely.
sexy also means that you also need to be able to prove that later on that you are what you say, right? So
walk the talk.
Yes, you got to walk the talk. And I'm a firm believer that some of those, maybe some of the fintechs that we have seen, and we have seen some of their collapses recently and all that. Sometimes if you're not sure, when the time comes to, as they say, show me the money or show me what you really have, and then you are left standing there. So I'm a believer of a steady growth of companies. And I think when you look at that, you will see PropTech companies over a period of time, they will shine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And Asherul, Alan, what should a PropTech company have to be appealing for the two of you? You have been mentioning just now that you have a wallet with 30 million in. And I'm sure I have at least 15 or more than of our members that would like to put their hands on these 30 million. What and why PropTech have not been so appealing to you, to the market, to the investors till now?
I think I echo again what Datuk Sri Paul and Cash were saying earlier. Fintech is, take for example, Web 3.0, the kind of application, the kind of solution that people are introducing to the market are those which people have never seen before. So in that sense, it gives allows people to be very imaginative of what can be done. So with that, then when FOMO comes in, you see some people stock something a bit more complicated than people would like to. Naturally, we gravitate towards those kind of stuff. And the problem, I think, with PropTech, people are so used to the kind of solutions that are available are things that people can see. Like again, one of the solutions, like Cash was saying, is to shout more. But also, I'd like to see a solution that I've yet to see, a solution that really cuts through the solutions, the problems that people are having in construction or property. One vertical I think might be of interest is probably data analytics. I think we are only scratching the surface with that. When BRICS, I don't know, people outside Malaysia probably not sure, haven't heard of them. But BRICS, when they first came in, I think that was a revelation. It democratized the just simple, something that we have been looking for, we really need. So if somebody can do a bit more data analytics on that and help not only on the supply side, but also demand side, that would be terrific.
Yeah, and beside BRICS, Urban Metric also another data analytics, a powerhouse of data analytics, which has been kind of suppressed a bit in the last 6-8 months from the closed door that the government gave to them in terms of data collection and available data online. NAPIC, JPPH has been pulling back their data and closing accessibility to the data in a very kind of jealous matter. Should be changing this attitude. This democratization of data distribution should be raised exponentially to allow PropTech solutions to become more disruptive and creating the breakthrough. Don't you think so, Alan? You know Urban Metric, I think, Charlie.
Yeah, I do. And you know, I totally agree with the what the discussion that we had so far. But let me just put it into a different perspective. my message is to the PropTech founders, let's not be despair, because in the space that MBank or Nexia is in, we are in because MBank and Nexia both are in the space of angels, right? So angels comes into this particular space in the startup space, startup ecosystem at a bit more early stage. So here, the reason why I say that let's not be despaired is mainly on the fact that we do not look at the verticals of the business as much as we are looking at the founders themselves. So the founders are more important, you know, than the verticals that's in. I think the case in point is that if you look at Grab startup, you know, to solve a problem in the taxi industry, or Custom started off as to solve a problem in the used car industry. So at the end of the day, it's all about the founders, and that is what attracts the angels. It is not the fintech, it's not the PropTech. It's the founders themselves. If the founders are right, money will follow them.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
For sure, right? So saying that, yeah, my message is let's not be despaired. As long as we have got the right founders in place, it doesn't matter which verticals you are on. The investor will be looking you up.
Reasonably trustable funders, good technology owned, and easily scalable. Those are the first three kickoff points that every startup should be looking at. Now, let's talk about the well of money, the well of wealth, which is apparently running a bit dry because no more big valuation, no more big numbers coming up left and right. And here we have two main aspects to look at. The first one are the blow-up stories, from WeWork to Grab to the latest one, FTX, less than 10 days ago, blowing up, I don't know how many billion of US dollars. So failure stories are more loud than success stories. And at the same time, the backward step that a lot of investors have been taking, we have been discussing and laughing a lot about this part with Datosri Paul recently, saying that 20, 30 years ago, when I was going around for fundraising, I did my first fundraising in 1979. And at that time, my funders were asking me, okay, are you in the market? Are you generating revenue? What is your profit? Then I found you. Then no more profit, we step up to revenue. Then no more revenue, step up to idea and estimated revenues. Isn't it that those three? We were a bit laughing about the companies getting billions of valuation on an idea. You have been bringing up an example of the big competitor of Tesla, if I'm not wrong, which has been getting, I don't know how many billion of valuation producing 0 cars. So this concept of looking at exaggerated expectations, right? Expectation on from investor side, very high, and broken dream at the end of the period, pulling back, closing into the shell from the investor side, has been drying up the well. So is it only a negative perception based on the failures, or is a negative perception plus coming back with the feet on the ground and looking at real values beside founders, as you were saying just now, Alan, and a doable technology and a scalable technology? Are these things really affecting the abundance of funds for investors? We start maybe from Paul with the point of going backward to the profit. What do you think? We work grab from taxi to food delivery, and from food delivery to grocery.
The well is dry, guys. The US market
Yeah.
is a very difficult market right now. In fact, the IPO market is shut. Even the SEC has come out to say no more micro cap IPO, no more small cap IPO. You know, I was an accountant back in the 80s, and I used to joke with Daniele. We used to look at the bottom line. There is a positive bottom line, right? So you apply a PE ratio to your profit after tax, and that calculates the number of years you need to stick around in order to make your investment back. And then when companies started making losses, the clever accountants and bankers moved up the P&L. And the last positive number they see is operating profit. So they came up with this EV over EBITDA multiple. And now even for people like Grab, where they're worth tens of billions of dollars, they are multi-decacorn, they have negative EBITDA. So what do? You look up and up further in the P&L, and the only positive number is the revenue number. Hence, many IPOs were priced on the basis of revenue. Now, revenue is good. It's validation, is an endorsement that you can sell your product. But a company cannot be sustainable if you do not ever make a positive contribution to profit in the form of EBITDA, or eventually profit after tax, from which you declare dividends, right? And recently we see even more ridiculous examples of companies which are pre-revenue, especially biotechnology and electric vehicle companies, which are valued at billions of dollars as they merge into a SPAC. We call this price to future revenue, otherwise known as price to dream ratio. But then, as Kashminda said earlier, you better be what you say you are, because if you don't, lawsuits will start flying. You overpromise, you don't deliver, you miss your quarterlies. American investors are very, very unforgiving, right? However, you know, hopefully the world will come back to realization that you know, fundamentals are important. All these great ideas, they could change the world, but they could also crash and burn.
Yep, precisely. And what do you take out of this failure, blow up, or a bit of pessimistic view into overvaluations? Ashirul, Alan, and Kesh, a very short sentence, because we are almost at the end of our time, and there is one question that I would like to bring in from the floor. And from the floor, please add a few more questions.
Yeah, if I could.
All right, let me go ahead first.
Oh, all right, thanks, Ashro. I think just a quick one on my part. I think in every investment potential that's out there, you know, there is always people that is, if I can call them, a bit more eccentric. You know, they take it a little bit too far-fetched and too far, you know, in order to justify for it. I think that's what happened. But, you know, fundamentally, if you look into the startup ecosystem investment, I think the fundamentals are there. It's justifiable. As long as I think we do not take it, maybe in the way I sometimes use the word, the SoftBank way, we are okay, you know. But no, I really believe that the fundamentals are still there, and we are okay as long as we stay sane, you know, SANE, sane.
Yeah. Ashirul.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a detachment of why on the side, what has been happening on the Silicon Valley side and in this part of the world, in the sense that we are currently facing a funding winter, so-called, the term that we are using right now. But that all started off from the more developed market, where, like Dr. Sri Paul was saying, that people have moved up in terms of valuation, looking at revenue and future revenue rather than looking at the fundamentals. one of the key complaints that startups are having against Malaysian VC in particular is, this is based on my own experience, they're complaining that Malaysian VCs are very difficult to disburse their money. Primarily, I think when I talk to the rest, it's pretty much because of the fundamentals. We really look at fundamentals. So I'm not as easily, we're not as trigger happy in terms of dishing out money compared to probably the bigger VCs with who have like 200, probably 800 million USD to disperse. Also, they need that speed in dispersing. So probably they're a bit more lenient in the way they do valuation. But for Malaysian VCs, we're a bit more fundamentalist in a way, if I can say. But in terms of whether the money is drying up or not, I can assure you from what I have seen, and I think for the next 4 months, there are a number of MEFCAP and General Capital's supported funds alongside us who are really looking to disperse and have money to disperse.
Very good, very good. Kesh, 1 minute sentence on this, or everything has been covered?
I think just to say that this current scenario will be good for investors because I think valuations will become a lot more realistic. At Pitching, we have been really stressing to companies who come to us that your valuation has to be realistic. Maybe when there was too much money flowing around, it was harder to convince them. But now we see that valuations are again becoming more realistic and to investors, which will then draw interest. The good point to make is that when valuations are realistic, they are also able to meet the projections, which will then allow them to raise another funding round next time. So it's good for everybody in the end.
Yes, be credible and walking the talk, delivering results.
Yes.
Now, here we have 2 questions from the floor. I will try to combine the two so that we can do a fast round between you. The first comes from Akbar Raza. He's saying, what do VCs see in founders when it comes to a PropTech startup? Because almost all of the PropTech startups work with a similar business model. What do you want to see in founders? Founders, not funders, the founders. What the founders want to see into a founder, people. Alan.
Is the question is on the chat or on the Q&A?
Yeah, in Q&A.
In Q&A, no? Let me. I don't quite kind of get the question.
Yeah,
so,
I think what Akbar wants to say is business model of PropTech solution. Most of our PropTech solutions are based on a subscription model. That is the revenue, the business model created. So what is the appealing part that you want to see in the founders of a startup? And the second question instead, here Akbar is saying, what do investors see in founders when it comes to funding? What they want to see to open the wallet and release a check.
Yes, I think very, very valid question. I think the first point, like I said earlier, investor look in the early stage of the startup. Investor look at the founders more than as far as the business model is concerned. So in this case, when it comes to looking at the founders themselves, investors look at many different points. And so we have a full checklist, about 20 or so, with regards to the founder. Is that do they have the right founder behind the team, behind the business? Do they have the right team of founders behind that particular business? Do they have a related experience with regards to that particular space that they they wanted to, they are in the business in. And I think, you know, also when we look at the individual founder, when we look deep into the individual founders, we are looking for their capability, the capability to disrupt that particular space that they are looking into. It means that are they able to define the problem statement correctly? Are they deploying the right kind of solution? And is the team behind it that's able to execute it? So whole lots of it. You know, happy to sit down with Akbar on it, and I will promise to tell him if he's the right founder or not, if he is a founding member of the team. No, it's a joke. It's a joke.
And then one last sentence. I think this one, maybe Paul, you can give a reply to this anonymous public question. What would be a good reference to validate startup overvaluation? Also, this one is not so clear, because if we are talking about overvaluation, how can I have a validation of a overvaluation? We go ahead with storytelling on the wave of WeWork, Grab, Property Guru, and many other overvalued startups, ending up at the end draining the well for the one with a real good valuation. So
America is flushed. Yeah, America is flushed with liquidity. So when you have too much money chasing too few deals, everybody bid up the asset values and prices. And that was exacerbated by the SPAC market. You know, in an IPO, I see quite a few of my banking friends joining the conference. In a typical IPO, you value the business, then you take the client on a roadshow to build a book of demand to find where the equilibrium valuation is. For a SPAC, the target and the SPAC agree the valuation. Your company could be worth $1 billion, and you two can agree to merge at $3 billion. Now, the market is not stupid. Sooner or later, it's going to catch up with you. Look at Grab, right? Grab did the round just before the de-SPAC at $16 billion US. Between that round and the de-SPAC merger, there was COVID. So how can you be worth $42 billion when the last round was only 16? Guess what? Market corrected. They're back down to 13, 14 billion, where they should be, right? So, you know, you can call yourself what you want. Many Malaysian companies got conned into quoting themselves on the OTC. All these brokers tell them they're listed. No, and the only trade is between the husband and the wife, and you can call whatever market cap you want. That is short sendiri, as they say. You know, never fight the market. Price yourself judiciously, and the market will reward you.
Yes, precisely. And with this last word of Dato's report, let me first of all thank Alan, Ashrul, Kesh, and Paul for being with us today. All of them have very busy agendas, so we have been able to attract them to come and talk to us and show to you their wallet, open wallet with a lot of money inside. You want to approach them? Approach us, approach Malaysian Proptech Association. We are here to connect you with each one of them, from the 100,000 angel funding to the multi-million SPAC IPO with Dato's report. Reach out to me, reach out to the website. We are here to connect you. We want you all to be successful in this. So again, thank you to our panelists. Thank you to the public for the interesting question. And Angela, I return the floor to you.